I'm Mike Copper, and what I'm doing here is I'm going to try to record a video about my experience in the Vietnam War. I thought I would do this for any family members that were interested, my grandchildren, any fellow vets, anybody that want to study about the war might want to listen to this. But, I can pass this on to my descendants if they're interested. But it's nice to be here recording this video. I've made lots of movies, and this is the hardest thing I've ever done, recording myself. But anyway, 58 years ago this month, which is now August 2025, in early August of 67, I got orders to go to Vietnam. I was stationed at Fort Gordon, Georgia, and I was in a holding company, and I was ready to get out of there anyway. And I'd gone up to the field first sergeant, going to put my paperwork in to go to EOD school. That's bomb squad stuff. And he said, "No there, PFC, you're going to Vietnam with me," and handed me a set of orders. Wonderful. So anyway, I went to RVN training. 3 days of prepping you to go to Vietnam. First day giving it to base theater. They made Vietnam sound so good you couldn't wait to go. And he talked about the money you're going to get, hostile fire pay, which we call combat pay, overseas pay, and don't pay taxes. So I'll get a good payday over there. Better than this one. I'm getting about $110 a month. So anyway, I go on leave, get 22 days, supposed to get 30 days shipping to Vietnam. Well, for some reason, who knows why it's the Army, I got 22. And I was taking 30. So at that point in time, I went on leave to Delaware, Ohio. Leave gets over pretty quick. Fly to Chicago to San Francisco. I'm heading for the Oakland Army Depot. That's where you prep up, process to deploy to Vietnam. I didn't know a lot about the war at that time, but I know now. I know in high school, mid-60s, like 64, 65, we talked about the war in Vietnam. Didn't really understand it. The TV news sometimes referred to the war in Vietnam as the war in Indochina. It's like, I'm thinking we got two wars going here. Didn't know where Indochina was. Flip stamps. But anyway, I get to San Francisco, go out to Oakland Army Depot, spend a lot of time talking about it. All I know it was move, stop, process again, get shots, and other kinds of things. Then we finally, after about maybe 3 days there, take a bus to Travis Air Force Base and hop on to Braniff Commercial Contract Airlines. I think Braniff was out of Texas, and it was a contractor. We flew either on a 707 or a DC-8. Their planes were different colors. I guess it'd make you feel like fly on a green plane versus a red or something. Of course, you board the plane by rank, not PFC. So that means I get on last. I got near the back, middle seat for the 20 plus flight. We fly to Hawaii, get off the plane, a couple minutes really. Enough to have a soda pop, get you back on board, and we fly to Manila, in the Philippines. So happens my Aunt Marge married to an airman. Air Force sergeant was stationed there at Clark Air Base in the Philippines. That's where we landed. I called her up. She came out to visit with me. She had a big Cadillac. Came out, and I was really, grateful she would do that. Just kind of cheered me up a little, talk to somebody, kind of family member. Now the plane takes off. We're supposed to go to Benoit. It's about a 2-hour flight. Pilot comes on board. We're not going to Benoit Air Force Base. We're going to Tonson Newt. which is the Saigon Airport and Tan Son Nhut Air Force Base, all combined in one. Pilot said Bien Hoa Air Force Base was under attack. So we're going to land in Saigon, which we did. We had to fill out customs forms for Vietnam. Crazy. So anyway, we hopped these air-conditioned buses with frosted windows. You can't see out. Anyway, they're air-conditioned. I think maybe things in Vietnam all over the place are air-conditioned. Pretty good this hot weather. Well, that was about the last time I rode anything with air-conditioned. So we go take a 17-mile trip to a large U.S. Army base called Long Binh. Go to something called the 90th Replacement Battalion. Get off the bus there, it's dark, you're tired. First thing to do is change money. Get rid of your green dollars, you couldn't have it when you got military payment certificates, we call it MPC. Then we went to some kind of a building and some sergeant comes out and, gentlemen, welcome to Vietnam. You are a guest here. I don't want to be a damn guest, but you are. And you process and finally go to barracks, jet lagged, 12 hours behind. And all I heard was artillery fire in the distance all night. And I'm thinking, what people think of that? What I'm listening to, yes, it's artillery fire, but it's called HNI fire, harassment and interdiction. The artillery folks just shoot out into the jungle, in the free fire zone. They have no specific target. Just fire shells out there. Maybe it hit somebody. I know Westmoreland got a little bit of trouble for spending all this money on artillery that you're firing is not really going with any specific target. But anyway, next day I get up and didn't do much of anything. You go to a formation and eventually they call your name out. You hop on a truck and my battalion happened to be there at Long Binh. Take it to the battalion headquarters. We was probably there 4 or 5 days, slept in this small tent. But one thing I'll say about it, we had a good sergeant charge of us, a Master Sergeant Ladd. He came to us and said, look, fellas, I know you're tired. I'm not putting you on detail or anything. Got in process, and I just tell you what, you make my formation, police call, keep your hair cut, don't get in trouble, I'll leave you alone. Let you get acclimatized. That's a leader. This video's about leadership in a way. But anyway, start off pretty good leader, that's nice. Now we in process. And eventually they put us on a truck back to Tan Son Nhut because I'm going to Queen Yan with a couple of the guys that were there. I don't know where the heck Queen Yan is. All I know up north. I remember my first C-130 ride. I learned what troop seats were. But get to Queen Yan, it's night, of course. Nobody's there to pick us up. We haven't eaten. Oh, except for breakfast that morning. Had anything to eat. But anyway, somehow we got to the unit, D Company 40th Signal. They shared an encampment with the 41st Signal Battalion. So there was nobody there to really welcome you. I didn't expect a band or anything. But no one's there to welcome new guys. Let's see, here's what you need to do now. And we went to the CQ. It showed us the so-called transient quarter. Picture of nothing. Bunks with no mattresses. They laid down there, tried to sleep, and fight off the mosquitoes. Lots of mosquitoes. Smell. Ooh. What I didn't know, the back of the barracks, make it the most 40 feet away, was a fence. The other side of that fence was a field. And that's where the Vietnamese defecated at. There was a refugee camp in that area, and they went to that field and they pooped. Man. But anyway, next day, I go to the sergeant. He wasn't a bad guy to talk to. So look, I had a mosquito net. Oh, no problem. Just go to supply and get one. Okay, that makes sense. I go to supply. We don't have any. Okay. What do? Go see your platoon sergeant. I just saw him. He said to come here. Oh, well, we don't have any. So I go back, see the platoon sergeant, and tell him we don't have any. Well, what most of the guys do, they find somebody going home. They get their mosquito net. So I found somebody about to go home. Yeah, he had a mosquito net and wants to sell it to me. Against the law to sell Army property. I'm hardly going to turn him in. What I didn't know at the time, the Quinyon was on limits. You could go into town. Right outside the gate was a shop, and he had all kinds of mosquito nets. These mosquito nets were purloined from who knows where, but they were U.S. Army mosquito nets, and you had to buy one. I was thinking maybe it's illegal for me to buy one. I keep hearing these radio playing how black market's illegal, so I don't want to go to jail or something for buying a mosquito net, which I wouldn't. You're new. No one's telling you anything. But back in the unit, they told me to go see the CO. God dang, what did I do already? Well, we didn't see the CO. We saw Sergeant Dukes, nice fella. He told 3 of us, based on your test scores, you're qualified to go to cable splicing school. And he sort of implied to do this, you'll make E5 a lot sooner. Oh, really? And I don't want to be a pole lineman. That was a MOS. I'm a telephone. Putting up telephone cable. So anyway, Mike Massey and myself decided we go to cable splicing school. Back to the airport. Plane takes off. C-130 again. It's headed to Pleiku. Well, on the way to Pleiku, an engine goes out. So we're not going to land at Pleiku. We land at Cam Ranh Bay. I remember Mike and I took a bus from the airport terminal to a mess hall, which was run by the Air Force. It was actually pretty good. And we slept all night on a luggage cart. Next day, end up back to Tonsolou. They do pick us up on time and get back to the battalion area, and we start cable splicing school. 3-week school, which was pretty good considering. It needed to be maybe 10 weeks and stuff to train us on what we're going to come up against. But it was 3 weeks. And back we go to Queen Yan. So now we're back in the company area and lunchtime. So this happened earlier, but I'll tell the story now. Go over to the mess hall. Man, it's hot. Oh, you know, and thirsty. Go to the mess hall. Oh, wow. Iced tea. All right. I pour myself some iced tea. Dang, stuff's warm. Iced tea is this. Coming into the line. Oh, ice machine. That's great. Put some ice in. Well, I had a sign on there. E6 and only. So I couldn't have ice. You get iced tea with no ice. They wonderful. That's really taking care of the troops. The leadership there had the ways to get us ice, totally legal. But they didn't. They had theirs. Screw us. By the way, there were Vietnamese operated ice plants that have been inspected by the hospital, and the ice was good. There's ways to get ice, but they didn't do it. I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. That's little things I remember about leadership. So back in the barracks, starting to get evening, come to me and tell me I'm going to An Khê. Had a project there, and I said, An Khê, where the heck is An Khê? Central Highlands, 1st Cav Division headquarters. I'm thinking, hey, you're going to go to this place at night? And what I didn't know then, you had to go up the An Khê Pass. There had been ambushes there, soldiers killed on that damn pass. We're going up it at night. I can't remember if I had a rifle. Must have. So off we go. Get to An Khê. It rained and it rained. In a 3/4 ton truck, at least it was. And so a guy Maybe the driver said, see that light over there? Head toward that light and go in that tent. Oh man, sleep in that tent. So I walk into the tent naturally, and I'm met by a guy named Joe from Illinois, older draftee, drafted up to 26 years old, and he was probably about pushing 28. He'd been a telephone cable splicer in Illinois, and he was heck, a weird guy to work for. I walk in the tent, hands me a beer, and I said, well, I need to make my area up. No, we done that for you. Bunk's right there. It's all made up. Mosquito net was there, and he said, here's a lock you can use to lock up their homemade lockers. And this guy should have been a lieutenant. He was good. And really, on K wasn't a bad time, considering what it was. And come to maybe the first or second Sunday, Joe says we're all going to Sin City. Sin City. We took us out the gate. There's Sin City. It was a fenced-in, pretty large area full of bars and, cat houses. So we had an MP there, and he counted you in and counted you out. That way, at like 6 o'clock, they know if somebody was still there, because you don't want to be there at night. That was interesting. Eventually, the news of Sin City got back to the press, Think Life magazine and all, and mothers started complaining, maybe wives, girlfriends. And they shut it down. Screw the troops, politics. But eventually, projects done there. And one thing I do remember about On K, had a Class 6 tent. Class 6 implies a booze shop, beer place, whatever. And the only beer we could get about the whole time there was Black Label, something called Valentine's, was it? 3-ring beer out of Texas, and it was crummy. It didn't stand up to the heat, I don't know what, but by the end of the war, they couldn't give that stuff away. And it had soda pop in there. For about a month, the only type of soda pop you could get was Shasta Tom Collins mix. They didn't have Coke or Pepsi, nothing they really wanted. You go into the city of Quinyon, 40 miles away, which was a port city, get anything you wanted at the PX. So we'd go there, buy the better beer, and bring it back. I don't know how many cases of beer I bought, and I didn't really drink much. That's okay. $2.40 a case unless you want a Budweiser. $3 a case. The rules there in that area, to buy alcohol, you had to be a staff sergeant or above. But beer was okay, and we could buy the right kind of soda. And I'll stop talking about that war story. I am back in Quinyon, and they moved us out to what was called Futai Valley. I would say 7, 8, 10 miles out there. Number of units in Futai Valley. And so did a little bit of cable splicing, wasn't much to do in the area, it was all done. And one day they came to formation. Anybody type here? Well, I can type what? You're drafted, getting ordered, you're now operations clerk. Gave me a piece of crap for a typewriter. That's my biggest complaint. I didn't complain much about Vietnam. There's a war on. That's the way it is. You just gotta accept it. But I was an operations clerk, and I watched how the company operated. The CO's right there, and I heard all the good poop, had access to the, kind of paperwork the Army didn't want a guy like me to see. Something interesting. Right next to us was the 586 signal. Right next to it. There was a fence that separated out of gates. You could go over there. They had a club. And believe it or not, I believe it was Saturday, they brought a couple large trucks full of prostitutes in. It was something. Women, probably more women there than men. I remember they had a mama's on that ran all the hookers, and she'd give you credit. to have one of her service one of her hookers. Our commanding officer, he hated that they did that. He didn't like the idea they had a club. Yeah. We never had a club at the company for this signal. He wouldn't allow it, which was wrong, absolutely wrong. Morale was crap there. So what he did was where the gate was through the 586, he closed it off, put concertina wire. You know what concertina wire is? Think of barbed wire around the gate. We couldn't go over there. When this commander finally left, a new commander comes in. First thing he did was build us a club. A pretty nice one for the situation. I'm not talking about some air-conditioned building with steaks every night. No, just a large wooden building with a bar, and they had cold soda pop, and you could actually buy a pizza there. So anyway, the war carries on. January 31st, the Tet Offensive was when the communist enemies, basically the Viet Cong at that time, wanted to basically overthrow what was going on, overthrow the government. Well, they didn't succeed, but a lot of people were killed, a lot of battles. We weren't attacked during that. But down the valley, let's make it 2 miles away, most 3, there is a large ammunition dump. And it's daylight now, and I can see puffs of smoke coming off the ammunition dump. Well, that's fun and strange. What it was, they were mortars. They finally hit something and blew the place up and rattled everything around there, mini earthquake. And that night, I witnessed a helicopter go near a bunker on the side of Vung Chua Mountain. I have a video kind of about this. Don't say much about it. But what I saw were tracers going at the helicopter, somebody shooting at it. Helicopter backed off and fired rockets into the bunker, and that was all. But my understanding, the Viet Cong went up the mountain, got in the bunker, killed the guys in there, and started shooting at the helicopter, which was a mistake they made. I feel sorry for the guys in the bunker. But stuff like this doesn't come out in the newspapers or your local bulletin. What really happened there? But I saw it. Something happened. But anyway, built a club, had the Tet Offensive. Here's a big, it's called a beef. I like it. Weapons. Up until a certain point, we had our weapons with us. We didn't sleep in there. You could sleep with the bunk if you wanted, but had access to them right next to me. Ammunition, if something happened. Because we were in this valley, and to our west was a, let's call it, call it Little Mountain if you want. And the enemy could have easily come down there and attacked us. We were in a vulnerable position. The only communications we had were administrative telephones. If the enemy's attacking, you get on there and tell the switchboard operator, get me somebody. But they never had any plans if we were attacked. And, when did us get back to the weapons? One day they came and said, oh, you guys, E4 and below, put your weapons, clean them, and put them in the arms room. So we're going to lock them up. Well, I'm thinking, wait, there's a war going on here. Now, if the enemy attacks us, are they going to say, hey, give you a fair chance, go get your weapon out of the arms room? Bunch of crap. And talk about dangerous. Now, the Army probably say that's the right thing to do, this and that. Well, to the north of us was a prisoner of war camp. Never any problem with that. You see them out there working. They're Viet Cong prisoners of war, or North Vietnamese. Now, keep going north, make it a mile, was a transportation type company. One night, they got attacked. Viet Cong came in there with satchel charges. I remember the first person they killed was First Sergeant. But the troops, E4 and below, it's like a corporal, had no weapons. They were putting bunks and stuff up against the door of their billets, trying to keep the enemy out. They had no weapons. I remember I could hear all this fighting going. And Grief 5s had weapons, maybe, and the officers did, the senior NCOs. However, there was a lot of Viet Cong, and they killed a lot of GI, fellow soldiers, died for the stupid rule. Had to keep your weapons in the arms room. Now, where this rule was made was at USRV headquarters, which is in this place called Long Beach. You hear me talking about it. It was pretty safe duty there, really. They rarely got attacked. So they could put their weapons in the arms room. But they made it apply to us out there who were vulnerable. To me, that's just criminal. That is crap leadership. Absolutely horrendous leadership. Guys got killed. And it's possible we had to lock our weapons up because there was a situation where soldiers started killing their leaders. So I think they figured, well, we locked weapons up. They can't, kill the leaders. Nobody in my unit ever talked about killing a leader. But that's the Army mentality. It's the war going on. So anyway, terrible situation. Quite scary, really. But anyway, lucky me, I guess. Actually, unlucky. I'm finally done with this 6 or 7 month stint in the orderly room, and sent me to Chu Lai, another place. Boy, I didn't like that place at all. Sent me back to the valley. So I go up there and had a lot of work to do, splicing telephone cable. In Chu Lai, the Marical Division headquarters was located there. Worked for a guy I never cared for, I won't mention his name. He actually retired up the road here about 20 miles. I didn't know he's dead now. I'd gone to see him because we just didn't like him. I won't get into it, too much into personalities. He leaves, get another fellow replaces him. I ended up getting along with this guy, but he could be pretty mean sometimes. In formation, you get cussed out, call you an SOB and stuff. Got away with it. For reasons I've never known, the lieutenant up there, I think he hated me. I don't know what I did wrong to him. I did what I was supposed to do, kept my mouth. He just didn't like me. I think he didn't like me because I was every bit as smart as him. I think smarter sometimes. But the sergeant, he could get on us sometimes. But one day he came to me and said, "Here's a report I did on you, Army report." It was good. It made me walking on water. By dang, Sergeant. But I'm that good. I said, "No, you're not that good. Don't get the big head about it. I want you to get promoted D5. And it's got to get a good report on you. But never get the idea, digging on me." "Okay, Sergeant." I go down to Long Bend. Well, I got to go to the company first. I turned the paperwork into the first sergeant, so I'm Copper, Sergeant Perry, but I just gave his name away. Sergeant Perry. And anyway, the first sergeant said, "Your paperwork's not here. You have to have that efficiency report." I said, "Oh boy." So I called up Sergeant Perry. He went in the lieutenant's living quarters. And that lieutenant took my paperwork out of the packet, kept it on his desk. Sends me to the company and doesn't tell me. Talk about dirty. Well, I was dirty. So hope you listen to this one. Still alive. So the first sergeant asked me, "What kind of soldier are you? A good soldier?" "I hope so, Sergeant Perry thinks so." The Lord bless the first sergeant. He wrote me up in the efficiency report, didn't even know me. I go to Long Bend. There's 23 of us throughout the battalion on the promotion board. Out of 23, I come up number 3. Didn't do too bad. I came up number 1, but the sergeant major asked me, "In marching, when do you start off? On the right foot, or do you?" Man, I couldn't think of that. So just right step marching, veteran. You remember listening to this? start off on your right foot. And you asked me my general order, and they just changed it, 11 to 3 high. So I come in, I just like to be number one for it. And three's pretty good out of 23. And it wasn't very long after that I got promoted to D5. That was first of having, nice rank. Got a little bit of privileges with it, got paid more. I was real proud of that. We had several casualties. I have to tell this. Several casualties in Shoe Line. Dave Crawford, there was a place where they had to do a spline. A lot of you listening to this will probably look at your picture one day and you'll see a telephone line. Telephone poles at the very top is your power lines. About 15 feet below that, you can have telephone cable. That's just the way it goes when anybody gets shot. But there was a point where there was a splice about no more than 3 feet from the power. Part cable and right above you was the power. Totally wrong. Someone should have done something about it. Dave had to work on that splice, get the aluminum ladder out. Darn if he didn't hit those power lines and kill him. I blame the Army on that. And again, you're not going to see this in the paper, in Life magazine, how the Army killed him. And that's one of the things I blame this, not Sergeant Perry, but this first sergeant. That should have been done. And lo and behold, I have to go work on this cable. Crawford is dead, and I can go to that same place. So I'm very careful. And two Navy senior NCOs stopped their Jeep, looked up on me and said, "Buddy, that power car, it'll kill you." "Yeah, I know." "Well, I'm sitting here so it didn't get me, did it?" That was wrong. Absolutely wrong. That should have never happened. I tried to find Dave's gravesite out in Newton. I can't remember, it was out west. Anyway, it wasn't where I thought it was. I thought it was in New Mexico. That's right, Grants, New Mexico, but where it was born, he was buried across the border in Dawson. Go visit. One day, talking about sending me to Quam Creek, I had the plane lined up, what plane I was going on. Quam Creek, C-123, those people get ready to pack the stuff up to go, but I was going to take over this project. Quam Creek, man, he moved me. Well, they stopped it. I didn't go. Okay. That same time, freelance but NCO, we had a company, had one, E6, Sergeant Simpkins, heck of a nice guy, good man, guy. He comes up, gives us our re-enlistment talk, you ought to do it, and we, with a smile on our face, tell him, "Well, why don't you go to hell?" So, here. He goes back to the airport, hops on this C-123 that I was supposed to. Plane takes off, while out there, and it crashes on the beach. He killed like 18 out of 40 is what I remember. He was one of them. I see him say goodbye, and not long he was dead. And again, it's hard to find out about these kinds of plane crashes. I can find where the plane crashed, but no detail. And back in the unit about that time, this lieutenant I was for committed suicide. Permanent solution to a short-term problem. It's quite a story, but stuck a shotgun in his mouth, pulled the trigger, dialed his pin. That's 3 guys I knew that we lost. Carrying on, another story I'll tell. July to me was a big place. Marine Air Wings were there. American. A couple miles from us was the air base. Had all these fancy Phantom jets, what you call them. And we'd have rocket attacks up there, fairly regular. And they usually are just airplanes blowing. We'd stand out and watch the rockets come in. You couldn't really see them, you hear them blow up. We had a rocket go overhead and sound like great. We'd watch them come in. Larry didn't get to rocket. Well, one morning, Lieutenant came to us and says, "The rockets, we're getting rocketed. Get in the bunker." 11 guys were killed last night over near the runway. They were standing on top of their bunker watching the rocket attack. I'm wondering, is that really true? Well, in the Daily Bulletin, there it was. That rocket hit that bunker. 11 soldiers found. 10 died on the spot, 1 died in the hospital. True. So, no longer do I stand out there, watch the rocket blow up. Something doesn't happen mostly. I suppose laying in a bunk one day. Thing, the floor starts vibrating. My bunk is moving. The fan fell on me. We being attacked. I'm looking for my weapon. Then things calmed down and stopped. I went outside in what was a B-52 strike a couple of miles away from me. If I just remember that, it gave me a laugh. But anyway, July project never really got done. It was terribly poor engineering. The Army putting in phone systems, stateside type phone systems like we're going to be in Vietnam forever. But I don't get into outside telephone things. I know when I got back to the States, I called the phone company. They told me they'd hire me as a cable splicer for $89 a week. A lot of money. But anyway, back to Vietnam, I extended. When you extended for 6 months, you got a free 30-day leave. And you could, in the extension paperwork, I want to be assigned to certain unit, another unit or location. And I put down I want to be in Saigon. The thing about it, the Army would not let me extend unless they could find me a slot, and they did. 60 nights. And compared to Chu Lai and Queen Yan and Phu Thai Valley, that was good to do. I won't talk a lot about it, but out of those crummy places. Now, Saigon had a swimming pool right back. Had a great club. Sometimes we get 2 bands on that run. Club, you could always get good food, shrimp dinner, steaks, hamburgers, cheeseburgers. But the mess hall there was quite good. It was excellent. You had more than one choice. Had an NCO side. I'm an E5 now, I could go use that side and have to take a tray back. That was just darn good to do. You could go to town and do whatever you wanted to do. Spent a lot of time there. Or just walking some restaurant. And I worked for a sergeant in town. He'd be the best active NCO ever. He could be tough when he had to. Well, I remember I had to do an installation job when I first got there. I didn't do it. Dropping and screwing it up. Here he comes, I said, mad, but he's got to look me over like the units I've been in before. He asked me, he said, "Copper, you ever done this before?" "No, sir." "I know you're in that 40th signal. I know how they work. Here's how I work. If you can't do something, the job I seen, but you tell me. That's okay. Not to show you how. That's the way I work any minute." That was just a great guy to work. Later, and it's funny, he got transferred to Bangkok. I remember he called me, wanted me to re-enlist for Bangkok, have me positions figured out, and I was on the damn Bangkok. Well, I decided not to re-enlist. I did other things. Eventually went back in the Army, got a commission, and retired, living on pension and some other money. When I got out, I went back to school on the GI Bill. took ROTC and came back in Army as an officer what I did in college. I get out of the Army, get myself a PhD in computer science, and I teach college. Became a college professor. I barely made it through high school. I guess I was lazy. And I guess at some point I had a, what do you call it, epiphany or something, and got myself a doctorate in, actually, it was computer information systems, the forerunner of the web. My master's would be in data communication. I was surprised myself, and I didn't know I was that smart. Maybe I did these things. And sitting here in Delray Beach, Florida, I'll be 78 when I make it to October. And I've enjoyed doing this. For 40 minutes into it, and I could tell 100 different war stories. I would like to hear yours in the comments. Anything you wanted to add, or you knew me, or I knew you, or just usually I try to take a positive note. I know I complained in this video, things that really bugged me in that war. But we were sent to fight a war we were not allowed to win. Some of you old timers like me, you can remember Secretary of Defense Robert McNamara worked for John Kennedy, then Lyndon Johnson. And I'm not going to get into it here in 40 minutes into this video, but in his biography, quite a number of years after the war, he said that he knew the Vietnam War wasn't winnable. He knew this, and 58,220 were killed. He knew it wasn't winnable back in the Johnson era. He should have resigned. Just Johnson's not letting me win this. He's politicked it, and I'm out of here. But he didn't do that. He stuck around and did some crazy things as far as taking care of us. And I'll stop there. Boy, no, I won't. The honor flight, should have worn my honor flight shirt. But I went on one of these honor flights for veterans. It was really good. Flew me up to Washington. The escorts we had from the VA, even the airport, police escorts and overpasses. There were emergency people and fire trucks and policemen with sirens going off. It was something. Go up to D.C., bust around, good meal. Even though I was stationed there, it's fun seeing the sights again up in Washington with these guys. So I'd highly recommend, if you're a veteran, try to go in one of these. If you don't know how to find out, go on the internet. Or you somebody do it for you, look up honor flights for veterans. It'll pop up and tell you how to apply. But I highly recommend you go. Are you Vietnam vets? We didn't get heck of a good welcome home. I could do another video on that now, 43 minutes. I've enjoyed doing this, always wanted to do it, hate to stop. Watch some of their all this video. Thank you very much. Welcome home to everybody. Basically, Vietnam vet buddies. There's still a lot of us around. See another vet, shake his hand. I'm gonna stop with this. Enjoy doing it. I am making more video. Captain, the bird frags, we call it. Might look at that. And anyway, so long from Dr. Mike Copper, Delray Beach, Florida.